Welcome back to Corner Stories. Please enjoy this video and don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. And now let's get on to story 1. Last summer, while on vacation, my wife, Dee 27F, and I, 29M, were approached by another couple while on a cruise. We had dinner and drinks with them for a couple of days and had some interesting conversations about their open relationship. They floated several options to us: threesome, soft or hard swap, but in the end, we both weren't comfortable with the idea, but it planted the seed. We researched and talked till we finally felt ready to start exploring. At first it was fun going through the apps and looking at different profiles. We both saw the responses the two of us were getting and we laughed at some and cringed at others. I learned from watching the ones that caught my wife's eye and tweaked my profiles to emulate those, and surprisingly it did help my responses. This went on for several weeks and she finally had a short list and sent out 4 responses. All 4 answered quickly and she began texting and talking and finally set up her first date. We both had butterflies when she left and they met for dinner. Per our protocols, she sent me his picture and made sure his ID matched the name he had given her. I did a quick search and sent her a thumbs up and settled in and started a movie. She sent a check-in through our tracking app that she was at his house with an emoji that meant she felt safe. A few hours later I got a notice she was mobile and a text she was on her way home. She came home bouncing and giggling through the front door. She had brought me a pastry home, and while I ate that she showered, and then I got to experience reclamation sex with her, and she brought with it some awesome energy and passion. We talked the next morning, both of us excited about last night. We had made plans for a date night for the two of us the following night after her date and had a wonderful night. The following week she met guy number 2 for a short coffee date after work and they hit it off and made plans for a date the following week. Our agreement in the beginning was a 1 date per week limit, at her request. She had a second date with guy number 1 the same week, but I said the coffee date shouldn't count as a date since it was basically a meet and greet. The second date with guy number 1 went well and I got another dose of emotional energy afterward. After her second date, I got an invite from someone I had been talking with and we set a date to have drinks and see where things led us from there. I was excited, but Dee was struggling a little as I got ready to leave. We hugged it out and I offered to stay if she wanted me to, but she said she needed to push through it and would be alright. I met Kathy and per protocol sent Dee a picture and began talking with Kathy. We were getting along great and she suggested going somewhere a little more quiet. I was kind of waiting for a response from Dee and sent a question mark, which was followed by a thumbs up from Dee. Kathy and I stopped at a bakery and then went to her house and I checked in again. We cuddled for a while and made out on her couch. Kathy said she didn't want to have sex on the first date, which I respected. However, later she initiated oral, which became mutual, and that ended in the shower together. As I got dressed to leave, Kathy said we had unfinished business and wanted to know when we could see each other again. I told her about my weekly limit and that sometime next week would be lovely, and she said to call her and we will plan on dinner in. I came home to find Dee in tears and it looked like she had been crying for quite some time. She thought she could handle it but said she just went downhill the whole night. I did everything I could to comfort and reassure her. She finally settled down and just cuddled until we went to sleep. The next day she was withdrawn and moped around the house. I finally got her to open up and talk about it. She felt like she needed some more time to be okay with sharing me and asked if we could slow down. I said I would and asked if she wanted to talk to someone or if both of us should see a counselor together. She said she would try to see a therapist and we could go from there. The next day I am doing some chores outside and when I came in I heard Dee talking on the phone and making plans for next Thursday. When she got off the phone I asked her who she was talking to and she acted startled and started talking about taking the cars down and getting them washed today. I asked her what was going on next Friday and she said she had a date with guy number 2. I said I thought we were going to slow down and work on some things first, and her answer was they had already planned their date last week when they had coffee and she felt bad about canceling on him. So I asked her if I was the only one not allowed to date because of her feelings while she got to keep dating other people. After some back and forth she said it wasn't fair to guy number 2 because he had already made plans, so I picked up my phone and started texting. When I was done Dee asked me what was I doing. I said I was confirming a date with Kathy for next Friday and got a text alert just as I said that. Wednesday morning before we left for work Dee came to me asking to please cancel my date with Kathy until she could get in and talk with her therapist. I asked for her phone and started composing a text message to guy number 2. I'm sorry, but I have closed my open marriage with my husband until I can work through some of my issues. I hope you understand how sorry I am and forgive me for the short notice, but my marriage is the most important thing to me right now. I handed the phone back to her to read and said if you hit send I will cancel my date and then you can copy it and send it to guy number 1 as well. She looked like I had just run over her dog with the car. She said I was being mean and didn't care about her feelings. I asked her if that message wasn't the same thing she wanted me to send to Kathy. I said it was her choice, but to make it quick, I told her I had agreed to slow things down, but I expected that it would be fair and she would do the same. Maybe we need to just close and start over, or maybe just stay closed if this is how she is going to handle issues when they come up. I don't think it's fair for her to close my side when I did nothing wrong. Quick update. So Dee sent the message I wrote with an addition. Due to a crisis I had after my husband's first date, guy number 1 was gracious and understood, and guy number 2 was very rude and blocked her afterward. She showed me her phone to confirm it. She has an appointment with her therapist on Monday morning, but our couples therapist can't see us for 10 days. Her therapist did talk with her on the phone for 20 minutes today. Dee has been listening to podcasts or had a nose in a book since last weekend. We both kind of agree, instead of keeping busy and distracted, she just sat and let it overwhelm her. Monday night after her session she wants to sit down and talk with me about reopening, starting with a date with Kathy and me that Friday if she feels ready. We both agreed to stay in contact with guy number 1 and Kathy. Guy number 2 and everyone else will be no contact for now. This Friday is now a date night out together, and on Saturday resume our quest for a puppy. Relevant comments. First off, your wife needs to make up her mind about what she wants. Asking you to wait while she carries on is not ethical or kind to you. Secondly, I think you are treating Kathy pretty unethically as well. You're willing to cancel a date with her at the last minute to make a point to your wife. Kathy has feelings too and deserves better. OP, I agree with the first part, but would argue the second one. I wasn't completely honest with Dee. The message I sent Kathy was that something had come up and I was still thinking about her, but our date would have to wait another week. I did not want to make a date I would probably have to cancel and hurt Kathy just to appease Dee later. Kathy's response was to send a racy picture and further encouragement. Comment: you guys should not involve others until you and Dee can talk to each other without trying to buy sly, pussyfoot or be dishonest in how you discuss your other partners with each other. Dee is in the wrong with how she is behaving, but this comment you just made sounds like you're willing to manipulate and deceive others as well. It just feels icky. Find a couples therapist that is E&M friendly. OP, I'm not trying to deceive Kathy, and I have since been upfront about what is going on and my intentions. As far as manipulating Dee, she kind of started this. And letting her go on her date without some consequence wasn't going to help her face her issues. But if she cancelled her date I would have had to cancel on Kathy, which would have been a dick move and unfair for Kathy, so I was dishonest. Should I have put my foot down and just forbid her to date guy number 2 until she dealt with the problem, or let her make this choice? I didn't have a lot of time to think about how to handle it, and it was kind of a shot below the belt to me, and I made a decision in that moment. Update, the rest of the story. So my wife, Dee, went on a couple of dates and had a good time. But when I finally got a date she had a meltdown and asked me to put a hold on dating until she could see her therapist and work on her issues, which I was happy to do. Except that same day, she was making plans to go on a date with a different guy, until I shut it down. I told her she had to get over her issues before more dating on her side, to be fair. So we made a deal. I got to go on 2 dates, and if she could learn to deal with it then she could start dating again. When she came home from her first 2 dates I was happy and supportive, and we ended up having some awesome sex when she got home. After my first date, which didn't end with sex, I came home to a crying mess, and rather than getting to ride that feeling I got pulled down into a pit of despair. I told my wife that coming home to that wasn't worth the effort and we might as well stay closed. She went to her therapist and she had a plan to go out with a girlfriend and keep herself busy instead of sitting at home and circling the drain thinking about my date. I went on the next date and came home before she did, and when she got home I got a hug, but that was about it, but at least she wasn't crying and it was some improvement. Friday morning she woke up whining about my 3rd date and wanting to know if I would postpone it. I said it would be unfair to cancel my date with Kathy on such short notice, but if she felt that way we could just chalk this up to a failed experiment and go back to monogamy. We ate lunch together later and she said she felt better about it and wanted me to go ahead with my date. I had a great time and came home just bouncing. But when I came home I saw 2 wine bottles almost empty on the kitchen counter and Dee curled up on the couch intoxicated. I didn't get a warm welcome home. She was short, sarcastic, and mean. I said that's it, this isn't going to work out and she could consider our marriage closed again, and I went to bed. Saturday morning I woke up disappointed and slightly angry about the whole situation. I got a hungover Dee out of bed and said we needed to have a serious talk. I waited till she was on her 2nd cup of coffee before I got started. Our deal was I would go on a couple of dates, and if she was fine she could start dating again. If she wasn't fine we would close for 6 months to give her time to exercise her demons, and then I would start dating, and if things went well she could then start dating again herself. I told her I was through. I didn't want to come home after a date and have to deal with all this drama again. I said that's not what you had to deal with when you came home and it just wasn't fair. She said she was sorry for what she said last night. She knows she acted awful toward me and kept saying how sorry she was. I reminded her what we agreed upon and that she should send a last message to anyone she was still talking to before she blocked them and deleted all her dating profiles. She wants to stay in contact with a couple of them since they have become friends, but I said they would be a distraction and temptation that wouldn't be healthy. I told her we could have one more couple sessions for closure and she could keep seeing her individual therapist or get a new one if she thought that would help, and maybe in the fall we could revisit this again. She begged for another chance, but I said I couldn't take the emotional roller coaster anymore and she just needed more time to sort through and deal with her feelings before we opened up again. She said I was lucky to find someone like Kathy whom I connected with so fast and was afraid it might take a long time for me to find somebody like that when we tried again. Addon, I wrote half of this last night and the rest this morning. When I reread it there was a lot of anger last night. I have tried the last few weeks to be supportive and showered Dee with extra love and attention to help her get through this. For now, we are closed and I feel some resentment and I am sure Dee may as well, and we will address that. Thanks if you made it this far. Relevant comments. Additional info. OOP. Did the subject of Kathy and Dee's meeting ever come up? I floated that idea and Kathy was up for it, but Dee was not. Dee had seen Kathy's profile and pictures but wasn't ready to meet her yet. I'm not interested in a one-sided relationship. If it's not equal I'm out. We have one more couples session scheduled and I guess I will see how it goes before I commit to more. Story 2. I'm 36, she's 32. Married 4.5 years, together over 7 years. No kids. Wife and I have been distant for a while, sex initiated only by me, once a month. We had a happy marriage, never fought, but apparently there were a lot of issues was unaware of. I thought we were just in a sexual rut, but it was far deeper than I thought. After my therapist and a friend suggested she may be cheating, I decided to check her cell while she was in the shower and found texts from another man. She immediately admitted to it and confessed everything. This was last Tuesday. Affair happened the Saturday before that. She has been talking to him romantically since November of last year, but known him for longer from work. He lives out of state and comes in town every few months. I feel stupid for wanting to see if we can work past it. She shows remorse, but no, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake, can you forgive me and we can work this out? To be honest, that's what I want to hear. This is the love of my life. Been together over 7 years, married for 4.5 years. She was my person. This is so out of character, it's unbelievable. She was cheated on in previous relationships and always told me, if you ever cheat, that's it. I'm gone. No explaining, no justifying, to talking. You'll wake up and I'll be gone and you'll never see me again. I made sure to never give her any inkling of me ever seeking anything outside of her. I gave up every female friend I had, let her know anytime an ex reached out or said anything to me, etc. I never wanted her to ever even think I'd do it, out of respect for her. Her 3 best friends and her individual therapist she's been seeing for years were completely shocked when she told them. A month ago, I would never have entertained the idea she could do it. It was so absolutely something she couldn't do. I would imagine her becoming a bank robber before I could imagine her cheating. I've told a few close friends and my sister, that's it. She's told her 3 closest friends and therapist, and as far as I know, that's it. We went to our first marriage counseling session January 22nd. She slept with him for the first time January 27th, not even a fucking week after our first marriage counseling session. She saw her personal therapist yesterday, second time since the affair, and went to a solo counseling session with our marriage counselor last night. I go solo tonight. Came home and was very distant. I asked her last night, do you still not know if you want to be with me? She said, I don't know. I asked, I would rather hear an I don't know than a no. But it's not a no currently, is it? She said, I don't want to have this conversation right now. I left it at that, said okay, and walked away and cried and drank for hours until I passed out. I'm going to solo counseling to the same marriage counselor tonight. We have a group session booked on the 11th. It's looking more and more like our relationship won't survive this. That she just has zero drive to work on it. I'm devastated. I never ever thought this would happen. I knew we had grown a little distant, but not this. I'm so nervous for this session tonight. I feel like I'm going to be telling the therapist I want to work it out, I can eventually forgive her, and she's just going to nod and smile, only for this group session to be her telling me that she wants out. I want this relationship to survive. I'm so scared. I'm sick. Edit. She says she has no desire to continue to see this guy, talk to him, anything. I asked if she was using him, she said yes, she wanted to have control over something. She says she has not talked to him at all since and will not talk to ever again. She is not seeking a relationship with him. But she's also not actively seeking repairing our relationship. She says she doesn't think I could ever forgive her. And that she doesn't think she could ever forgive herself. Edit. I sent a text from her phone the night I found it to him that read, "This is her husband." I've read the texts. He sent some responses the next day, but she says she has not replied to him once and has no plans to ever do so. Edit. I went to the marriage counselor tonight, my session was solo, her session yesterday with the counselor was also solo. I told the MC I feel like she's done. She's not showing me any signs of wanting to work through it. I told her that I know she can't tell me what they talked about directly, but that I know she's done with the relationship. She asked what I wanted. I told her I wanted an apology and her to say she wants to see if we can work through this, but I do not foresee that happening. Lots of other things said, but she did tell me to take some time to step back and really think if I was happy the past few years. And asked what I thought a divorce would look like. I feel like she was priming me for the separation. Feels bad, man. Super edit. Most of this will go into a new post. Just starting this here. Original post here. She's been staying at her parents' since last Wednesday. We did a joint counseling session Sunday together. The counselor asked what we were doing, reconciling or separating. I motioned to my wife. She said separating. And the counselor asked trial separation or separating to divorce? She said to divorce. I knew it's what she was going to say, so I wasn't surprised. We had a long talk about why with the counselor. She is going through terrible guilt over what she did, but still doesn't want to work anything out with us. She's not talking to the other guy anymore either. She just wants out. When we talked more, it was a lot of built-up little resentments that she never, and I'm not exaggerating when I say never brought up. Things like, well, I did all the cleaning, I offered to get a maid service at least 3 times and she told me no, not to do it, she can do it. She said she has to be the mental lead on things with planning. Yes, because SHE is the one who plans the trips and events. I'm not planning the dream vacation she's always wanted to do in Europe that we did 4 months ago. Every trip aside from one we've done is to places SHE wanted to go to, and the one trip we did that she didn't plan, my sister set it up. The counselor then said, well, what about the wedding? She didn't want to have a wedding, she just wanted to elope and you made her have a wedding and she did most the planning and you weren't very present in planning. Okay, you got me there. I wanted the wedding, and so did her parents and my parents. She said she never felt like she could talk to me about these things. I asked why, she said she didn't know. I asked if I ever did anything to make her think that. Did I ever yell at her, cuss her, call her names, bang my fist on the table at her, anything to show her that she couldn't talk to me? She said no. Then said that has seen me get mad and frustrated and yell and cuss. I asked if any of that was ever directed towards her, she said no. And I said exactly. Because I can separate a situation I am angry at or frustrated with from one from my wife. And the counselor said, well, how is she supposed to know that? I told her because it never happened. When I confronted her about the affair, even then I didn't scream at her, cuss her, punch the drywall or anything. Yes, I spoke loudly in lots of, how could you, and shit, but overall, probably one of the more calm affair confrontations you could imagine. Then I looked at the counselor and said, that's her proof that she could talk to me. So I said I feel like she never even tried. Every serious conversation we had, I had to bring it up and initiate the conversation. She never did. I told her I would rather have had 10,000 difficult conversations than the one we're having now. But instead, she held everything inside, and when she finally let it out and told me she was having some feelings, we scheduled counseling 3 days later, and she was fucking someone else less than a week after that. I tell her that if she doesn't want to be together due to the guilt she has for what she did, and that she doesn't think I'll ever be able to forgive her, that's one thing. And that's something we can work on. Then I said if she wants to separate because you no longer love me, you don't see a future with me, and you genuinely want a divorce, that's another thing. She said she doesn't want to be with me. I ask her, okay, so if I were to wave a magic wand, and have divorce papers ready for you to sign tomorrow, you'd sign them? I asked her this because I was actually going to pick up the divorce papers the next morning and get her to sign if the counseling session went the way I was expecting. She said, "What? That's so soon." I don't know. So I asked, if she wants a divorce, what's the difference in signing tomorrow, 2 weeks or 2 months? She just said she doesn't know. The session ends and we go back to our home to continue to talk and let her get more clothes to take to her parents. I ask her what she wants. She said she wants to be alone. I said, okay, alone and divorced. Or alone for a while and do a trial separation and file for divorce later if we can't reconcile after we take some time apart. She says she doesn't know, so I tell her that strings me along. That it's fucked up that she's the one who ruined everything by never talking to me, holding resentments she never told me about and having an affair, and now she's the one with all the power. She says she doesn't have any power and doesn't want the power, and I told her I know she doesn't want it, but she has it. I just have to sit here and go along with whatever she wants. I tell her that I'll have the divorce papers tomorrow if she will sign them. She says I can't have them made that quick. I said yes I can because I started last week. She says she has to read it first. I told her of course, but it will be what we talked about when I first caught her cheating and said I would divorce her. I keep mine, she keeps hers, both accounts and debts. I presented her with the papers, she read through them, then said she needs to get them looked at. It's exactly what we agreed to, so I asked why she needs them looked at. I tell her if she just signs now, we're done, no more bullshit, we don't have to go back and forth and she doesn't have to pay a lawyer. She admitted to having a lawyer she wants to look it over, but that the lawyer isn't on retainer. As we're leaving, I ask her if her parents know yet. She says they know we're separating, but they don't know that she's cheated yet. Family-wise, only her sister knows what she's done. So I'm at work on Saturday and see camera alerts on my phone, and I check in her dad and sister are at the house grabbing things. I call her and ask her what she's getting, she says just her clothes and personal items. I ask if the lawyer has looked everything over yet. She says no. I ask if there was anything in it that needed to change, she said she wants everything itemized, like furniture. I said okay, let me know what she wants itemized and I'll get it done. I send a text to her dad that day because I don't want them to think I'm a woman beater or something like that. I tell him that I do not want this divorce, I wanted to make it work, even after what she did to me. I didn't say what it was. But that I appreciated everything they did for me and welcoming me into their family and that I wish them all the best. He responded hours later saying they don't know what exactly happened, that she hasn't said, but that they think the world of me and don't think anything bad of me. I basically texted back thanks. This Monday I text her and tell her we need to go to our separate banks together and get each other off the accounts because we both have to be present, also our cell phones. No response. Later that day I sent a text asking if this was really it, this is what she really wanted, etc. Still no response. I haven't said anything since Monday. So I'm just sitting here waiting to see what kind of fucking she's going to try and hit me with. Deep down I know that us separating is for the best. The infidelity, the wavering on her wanting kids or not, her emotional immaturity, her lack of communication, the complete betrayal and being treated like I'm not even a person anymore. It's just so crazy because I never expected any of this behavior from her. The complete feeling of betrayal and not knowing who this person is anymore, because this isn't who I married 5 years ago.